The Carter administration today revised its anti-inflation guidelines to provide a little more flexibility on pay raises and a little more rigidity on price hikes. George Herman has the details.
The change was announced to compensate for the soaring cost of health care and union pension and welfare plans. Under today's revision, costs for existing and unchanged benefits will be considered to have risen only 7%, no matter how much they really go up. Kahn estimated that this would bring the current negotiating package of the Teamsters union to a 7.3% increase, which is slightly above the guidelines. But he added this qualifier.
It is very early in the game, and we truly are not in a position to forecast the outcome of those negotiations. Obviously, we are hopeful that all workers will respond and recognize that there has been a bona fide effort here to meet special problems, but we are not in a position to make any predictions.
The major change in the price standards affects those companies which elect to pass along their rising costs and to comply by keeping their profit margins within the standards. By allowing costs to rise faster than they otherwise might, such companies can increase their total profits and incidentally fuel inflation. Today, Kahn ruled that for a given volume of sales, no company may have a yearly profit growth in excess of 6.5%. That same figure, by the way, applies to professionals like lawyers and doctors. Their fees may not increase faster than 6.5% a year. George Herman, CBS News, Washington.
Organized labor went to court in Washington today to argue its case that President Carter's wage price guidelines are unconstitutional. Fred Graham reports.
In the hearing before trial Judge Barrington Parker, the AFL-CIO made a strong argument that President Carter exceeded his powers when he used an executive order to impose wage price guidelines. Labor lawyer Lawrence Gold said Congress outlawed mandatory wage price controls in 1974 after President Nixon's controls proved unpopular. He said President Carter's guidelines are in fact mandatory because companies can lose their government contracts if they grant wage increases that are too large. Assistant Attorney General Barbara Babcock pleaded that the president must be granted some leeway to grapple with inflation, and she argued that the Carter guidelines are not enforced by a mandatory stick, but only the carrot of maintaining government contracts. But Judge Parker compared the Carter guidelines to, I won't hit you with a steel rod, only with a 2x4. And he seemed troubled that the government had no direct authority from Congress to cancel the government contracts of companies that failed to follow the guidelines. The judge promised a quick ruling, possibly within 10 days, because he said the case will obviously have to go all the way to the Supreme Court for a final decision. Fred Graham, CBS News at the Federal Courthouse in Washington.